we have an Avengers Endgame Doomsday post-credit scene. So we know that we're getting a re-release in September of Endgame, which will, I think, add some stuff we haven't seen, maybe deleted stuff, and then we've got a Doomsday ending credit to lead to Doomsday. So let's check it out.
Announced that they are re-releasing Avengers Endgame in theaters, and it looks like we know what they are going to show thanks to some new insider reports. And I also want to talk about in this video why I think the Russo brothers are going to handle Avengers Doomsday in just the perfect way. What is going on, Cosmic Crew? Thanks for stopping by the channel today. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk since CinemaCon, since they showed us that trailer that we still don't have publicly yet for Avengers Doomsday. There's been a lot of talk from the Russo brothers and Kevin Feige because they did a lot of interviews talking about what to expect. And a part of their announcements was the re-release of Avengers Endgame to include new footage. Now, what is going to be in that new footage? It looks like we have a pretty good idea. But first, what you need to know is a couple of things that the Russo brothers said, talking about what we expect to see in Avengers Endgame. They said it's an opportunity to create a bridge from Endgame to Doomsday in a very unique way. And even insider Daniel RPK said this: they're really trying to sell this more as a direct sequel to Endgame rather than a conclusion to the saga. Now, in terms of Doomsday being a sequel to Endgame, they've admitted that. The Russo brothers did say this picks up essentially where Endgame left off, and it really just has to do with Steve Rogers and his connection to Doctor Doom, but we'll get to that in just a second. Another thing they said was that they'll be re-releasing the film with footage that is set in the Doomsday story that we have added to Avengers Endgame. Now, this is very, very specific wording. The footage that they're going to show us in Endgame is set in the Doomsday story. So obviously directly setting up Doomsday. And in fact, it kind of sounds like the footage that we're going to see in Avengers Endgame is going to be actual footage from Avengers Doomsday. And to top it all off, Alex Perez said this: it's the same movie with just some minor additions and one new post-credit scene. Now, he is not the only insider to say that it's going to be a post-credit scene. Robert Meyer from the John Campea Show also said it's going to be a post-credit scene. He said this: essentially correct, but it's all in Doomsday, at least as it was shot. Like Thunderbolts with the post-credit scene, which is an actual LIFT from Doomsday, they could extract other scenes for the film and move them into Endgame to cut down on running time. To cut down on running time before Avengers Doomsday is what he is talking about. And then other insiders have said that it's going to be a post-credit scene as well. So what you can expect right off the bat is a few additional scenes thrown into the movie. Doesn't sound like a ton, but we are going to be getting a post-credit scene for Avengers Endgame that directly sets up Avengers Doomsday. And we do have an idea of what that's going to be thanks to another report, but it's really funny because Avengers Endgame did not have a post-credit scene before. They had a post-credit sound. It was the clanking of Iron Man hitting the first Iron Man mask that he made in the cave with the hammer.
Could he be clanking?
Yeah, not a post-credit scene, just kind of a callback to the first movie that started the MCU with Iron Man dying in Avengers Endgame. Spoiler alert. I'm sure you've seen it. But so what can we realistically expect the post-credit scene to be? Well, it turns out we have a pretty good idea thanks to a report from Cryptic 4K Qual. They state the additional footage in Endgame is very similar to the Deadpool and Wolverine teaser trailer from 18 seconds to 30 seconds. Now, what that specifically shows is Deadpool blowing out the birthday candles because it's his birthday, and right after he does that, he gets a knock on the door, and the TVA shows up. So 18 seconds to 30 seconds is literally when the TVA is there and they are taking him. So that can very easily tell us what to expect for the post-credit scene, especially when we know Steve Rogers is returning. So as far as what's going to happen, this seems to be what is going to happen. The post-credit scene is going to show Steve Rogers going back in time. Once he goes back in time, it seems like the TVA is going to show up and essentially say, hey, you weren't supposed to do that. You're coming with us. Now, it's unclear at this point in time if it is actually going to be the TVA or if it's going to be Loki, because this is a report that we've heard in the past that Loki is actually the person that showed up at Steve Rogers' place and basically says, hey, I got to get you out of here because the TVA is going to prune this timeline. So I can take you to a different universe. If you and your wife, or maybe they're not even married at the time, maybe they don't have kids at the time, but if you guys want to come with me, at least Steve and Peggy, I can take you to a different universe where you can be together and you'll be safe. Which sounds kind of interesting when you put it that way, because he's in a universe he's not supposed to be in, but then he's going to be taken to another universe that he's not supposed to be in. But that is actually the key point, because according to that same report, Loki actually takes Steve Rogers and Peggy, and possibly their kids if they have them already, to the Fantastic Four's universe, the 828 universe. And from there, that causes a lot of problems, because once Steve is in that universe, he is from a different universe. Peggy's also from a different universe, one that Steve isn't from, because he went back in time to see her. That's causing a lot of problems as far as incursions are concerned. So it's actually Steve's fault and Loki's fault as well that an incursion is about to happen to the Fantastic Four universe. Dr. Doom incursions are happening and knows that his universe is in jeopardy, so he tries to build a device to stop the incursion, but it backfires, it explodes, it severely scars his face, and it kills his family, his wife and his child. That's a report. It's not confirmed, obviously, at this point in time, but it seems to have some pretty good backing to it. So if that is what indeed does happen, then the post-credit scene showing Loki show up to Steve Rogers and say, hey, you weren't supposed to do this, I got to take you somewhere else, that checks out. And it does seem like that would be a scene from Avengers Doomsday.
Well. Damn. Well, a lot. At least we get Endgame to wrap everything up. Or to make everything sense. But that Avengers Endgame ending credit makes so much sense now. Like, the clanking noise was Tony Stark making Doomsday's mask. That's crazy. And no one noticed that at all. I didn't notice it. But now we do. And that's it. The full video is in the description. So yeah, let's get it.